And welcome back to Subculture, everybody. We have got a very, very special guest on the show right now. We have got a man who is a radio announcer, he is an actor, a comedian, an author. This list could go on forever, but let's just welcome him to the show to talk a little bit about his Melbourne Comedy Festival show, which is going right around Australia. Welcome to the program, Sammy J.
Thank you so much, and I reckon you probably just about got to the end of the list, so I'm glad you stopped there. You just had to start pulling out, like, former debating club member 1999, that sort of thing.
Now, mate, I have been hearing absolutely brilliant things about your comedy festival show. Tell us a little bit about Good Hustle and what people can expect to see if they head along to this show in Melbourne or anywhere around Australia.
Well, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I've been doing little sketches for the ABC for the past 5 years on TV and online, sort of making fun of politicians and society, and of course we had a giant pandemic that came along as well. So I've had a whole lot of different characters in that world, which I decided to wrap up at the end of last year after 5 years of doing it. And so in the time-honoured tradition, I thought I'd cash in by doing a farewell tour. We'll find out whether it's actually a farewell tour when I decide whether or not to do it with John Farnham and come back in a few years. But it's a really nice way of sort of sending off some of these characters who some people will be familiar with, like the government coach and playground politics, which is play school for adults basically, and a yoga instructor and all sorts. Equally, if you've never seen me, never heard of me, or don't care for me, it's still a pretty accessible show. So there's songs, there's characters, and it's in the Forum in Melbourne, which is a beautiful theatre and different venues around Australia. So yeah, it's one for political nerds and general lovers of musical comedy. I think that's my target market.
Definitely. And now a lot of us have come to know and love these characters, as you said, through TV. How do you develop your characters? Like, do you see people on television or meet people in everyday life and think, hey, that they have the making of a good character?
I wish I did that, because I think it would make it simpler. You know, honestly, there's never a single reason where you draw your inspiration from. For me, it always starts with the joke, though. So, for example, I think it was like 6 years ago, ABC asked me if I would do some weekly sketches about the 2016 election, actually, and they said, look, we don't have a lot of money, but we'd love to, you do a daily sketch. So I thought, okay, how can I work to a small budget? And I thought, I know, I'm watching a lot of Play School at the moment with my kids who were very young back then. I like singing, I like drawing. Play School is actually sort of a good world for me to live in. So I came up with the idea of talking about politics using little dolls, and I had a little average voter doll, and I had a Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull at the time doll, and that was, just really silly and fun. But that was born of a budget restriction, basically. I had to do something cheaply, and then another time I was mucking around and watching a post AFL footy match conference. I think it was Damien Hardwick, but there was a coach who was just doing all the cliches of just give it 110%, boys, full credit. And I thought, man, imagine if he was talking about politicians like that, and that became the government coach character. So it's always based on the moment or on the circumstances. But I love it. You never know what's going to pop. I thought that might have just been one sketch that came and went, but actually the government coach, ended up becoming so legitimate that I've got the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese doing a cameo in this show talking to the government coach.
How have you found, what's the difference between doing these characters in front of in a television studio in front of cameras and doing them on stage in front of a live audience? What kind of differences have you noticed doing that?
Well, I mean, one thing, it's great because I don't have ABC lawyers checking the script for every word or possible defamation. Like, I was born on stage largely. That's what I've always loved doing, and I think I'll always, I'll see out my days being on stage because I love the energy of an audience. There's nothing quite like it in this world where it's all, people are watching their own shows, listening to their podcasts in their own little bubbles and little worlds. I think live theatre or live comedy brings people together in a way that's the only thing happening there in that moment, and it becomes a little in-joke, a little party. So for me, it's anyone who's seen me on TV, there'll be a fair bit more energy. It's a lot looser. I wouldn't say it's offensive in any way, but certainly I'm not worried about offending people because I feel like we're all talking the same language. And it's a bag of fun. And there is a fair bit of audience participation. Like, I do make everyone stand up and do baby boomer yoga with me, for example.
Yeah. So how have you found doing the show while you've been doing breakfast radio? Because this is something I've done I did it for a little while as well. I did breakfast radio while I was working as an entertainment reporter for another network. So I used to go to these events of a night time that would wrap up about 11, 12 o'clock and then be up at 4 a.m. to go and do radio the next day. How have you found that transition?
You know the pain, and it's sort of a false economy because you think, oh, I'm finished breakfast radio at 9 o'clock in the morning. I've got the whole day to myself, but that doesn't account for the fact that you're sort of like The Walking Dead all day as well. So the way I've done that is by taking 2 weeks off radio. I took my scheduled leave during the comedy festival, which has been really fantastic. So I'm back into it now. So this week I'll have a few radio days and show days, but that's nothing that a little bit of Red Bull can't fix. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And going around Australia now with the show as well, how does that make you feel? Because, of course, you weren't able to do that for a long time with the pandemic and things like that. So what's that like, being able to take these characters right around Australia? And for all the people out there, how can they find out more about when you'll be in their city?
Well, to answer the first question, like, I'm just really, really excited because some of these places, Brisbane, Perth, I haven't been there since 2019, my last national tour before COVID shut everything down. So it does feel like a real return to, it certainly will never be the old world, but it's, a bit of normality. And as I said, I love being on stage, so that's really exciting. As far as where people can find me, I'm doing all the capitals, and they can head to my website, sammyj.com, just Sammy-J, or just Google Good Hustle, and they'll find the dates. But yeah, wrapping up in Melbourne this week, so 4 shows left, and then hitting the country. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Sammy, you mentioned that this is a farewell tour as such. What are your plans after that? Of course, you'll be still doing breakfast radio, but are you hoping to do other projects as well?
Definitely, and in fact, that's part of my reasoning for wrapping up the show, was just that I felt like I'd achieved what I could achieve in that world. It's a boring but honest answer to say I actually just want some space. Like, I've got a book idea, I've got a sitcom idea, I've got a musical idea, all these things, some of which may happen or they may never happen, but I definitely need to claw back a bit of space because 3 years of doing Brekkie Radio and the TV show was, I was very lucky to have that work, and it was a really enjoyable, creative work, but I'm definitely ready for a little bit more balance in the old life department now.
Yeah, I had a friend recently who wrapped up doing a theatre show that she'd been doing for 3 years, and she said that when she let go of that character, it felt really emotional. She was in tears for a couple of days. How do you feel about bidding these characters farewell?
It's a great question. I haven't actually thought ahead yet, because I think my last show, I think, is in Canberra or Hobart in July, or June. So yeah, I haven't reckoned with that yet, but I think I'll be ready. Like, I certainly feel ready. Finishing up the TV show, I don't miss writing a weekly sketch at the moment. I'm sure I'll come back to that in some way in future, but ages and stages sort of thing. So it feels like I'm doing them justice. As much as I love the characters, I feel like I'm giving them a proper funeral rather than just letting them disappear, or worst case, stick around until they're not wanted anymore. That's what I wanted to avoid. So I think I'm getting out while the going's good.
Definitely. Now, for all of our listeners out there, like Sammy said, if you want to see his show anywhere else in Australia, go to his website. If you want to grab tickets for the remaining shows at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, go to comedyfestival.com.au, and all of those times and dates are up there on the website. Sammy, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. I know you've got another interview to get to, so we'll let you go, but thank you so much. And is there anything you'd like to say to people out there who are thinking about heading along to check out Good Hustle?
Oh, well, thank you so much for the lovely chat. And look, come along if you're keen to come along, please do. But you know what, more importantly, the Melbourne Comedy Festival, just go and see any shows. Don't worry if it's not mine. Go and see someone you've seen on TV. Go and see someone you've never heard of, and just roll the dice and check them out. I've been doing this for 20 years now. The Comedy Festival is the best time of the year, and it's so exciting to see crowds back out there. So just enjoy it, because not every city in the world is lucky enough to have a festival like this.
No, definitely, and it's been absolutely buzzing. I've been at the festival just about every night for the last few weeks, and it's been absolutely amazing. So listeners, go along and check out Sammy J with Good Hustle. But mate, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us, and we'll see you at a show very, very soon.
Legend, thank you so much. Cheers.